I didn't hear a swear in there. I got paper.
Alright, what we got to start with before we start actually graphing. Got an equation that you're supposed to be writing that says 3x minus 4y is equal to 12. And then I've got a partial input-output table. I know some values that we're going to find. We've got an x of 0, then we've got a y of 0, and a y of negative 2. And then I'm going to have an x of negative 6. Okay? Just reviewing here on some input-output stuff. When you first started learning how to graph many moons ago, this is the way you graph. You were given an equation, made an input-output table, you plug numbers in and got them out. So on the first number that I have there is 0 in the x, right here, I'm just going to write that as 3 times 0 minus 4y is equal to 12, and I'm going to solve for y. You know, 3 and 0 is 0. So it's got negative 4y is equal to 12. So what's our y that goes with x equals 0?
3.
Close. Negative 3. Very good. 12 divided by negative 4 is negative 3. So we would have the ordered pair 0, negative 3. Okay, now I've got my second one to solve for. Says y equals 0. So be careful and make sure you plug it into the right variable. That's about the only place you can mess this up. My y equals 0, so I have 3x minus 4 times 0 is equal to 12. We know 4 times 0 is 0, so it just gives us 3x is equal to 12, which means what's my x?
4.
Oh, very good. All right, you've got 2 more you're going to finish on your own. You've got a y of negative 2 to plug in and solve. You've got an x of negative 6 to plug in and solve. If I'm remembering correct, they both are fractions. Yes, both of them are fractions. Get those 2 finished real quick. Go. Plug a negative 2 in for the y and solve. Plug a negative 6 in for the x. Those of y'all that aren't doing anything about being travail. Let's get it done. Let's go.
Does that 4 go for 0? Or
The 4 goes with the 0. Yeah, I got a little lazy. I'm sorry.
Oh, you're straight.
Alright, Aaron, what'd you get when y was negative 2? What was your x? Say it again.
4 thirds.
4/3. Y'all get a 4/3 on that when y was
I got a
negative
1
2?
and 1/3.
1 and 1/3 would be good. Hayden, what'd you get?
For what? 8/6.
For when y is negative 2?
I got 4 thirds.
Good. 8/6 would work also. Zane's given some equivalent fractions. I like it. Alright, when x is negative 6. Grace, what'd you get on that one, sweetie?
Negative 15.
Negative 15 halves. Negative 7.5. Negative 7.5. Anything else? Is it supposed to be negative or a positive? Anybody question that? Lots of people erased. Did y'all get different answers, Caitlin?
What?
What'd you get for negative 6?
I didn't work it out.
What were you erasing then?
That, I just didn't finish it.
Oh. Did you get negative 15 halves?
I have
What'd you
positive
get?
15 halves.
I got negative 15 halves.
You did?
I got
Where'd you
negative.
work it at? I think it is negative. We'll stick on that. All right. Point in that, we're going to be solving a bunch of these as we go, so that's just a warm-up for you there. If we had, I'm going to be on graph paper for the rest of most of this. So if we had an equation that said 2x minus y equals 4. Okay? The directions for this, y'all listen. Directions for this say find the intercepts and graph. Find the intercepts and graph. Alright, first off, you know we've stepped up to a line because we've got 2 variables. Okay, all the stuff that we had graphed last unit was just on a number line because we only had the 1 variable, right? We got 2 variables. They're both to the first power. So our Algebra 1 word that we would call this is linear, right? So we're going to have a line. When it says find the intercepts, intercepts means where it's crossing the axis. So we're going to have a place where this line would cross the x-axis. We're going to have a place where this line would cross the y-axis. That's what we're going to find when it says find the intercepts. This line's in standard form. AX plus BY equals C. Remember from Algebra 1, you had standard form, you had slope-intercept form, you had point-slope form, all those linear things on that. When it's in standard form, in my opinion, the easiest way to graph is to find the intercepts. Other ways would be to rewrite it in slope-intercept or make an input-output table, but find the intercepts the easiest way. All right, deep thought questions coming up. First period struggled on this. If I want to find where this crosses the x-axis, where this line crosses the x-axis. If I'm on this x-axis where I'm running my finger back and forth, if I'm on that line, did I move up or down any?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. Chase is my favorite right now. So that means it has a y value of 0, correct? So if I'm trying to find the x-intercept, I'm going to plug a 0 in for the y. Okay, so just like on the input-output table we were making a while ago. So my x-intercept will come when y equals 0. So I'm going to write 2x. I'm going to put a 0 in the y spot. Now I'm just solving for x.
So junior volleyball have a game today?
Just y'all.
Just.
Okay, 2x minus 0 is just 2x. Divide by 2. And we got an x-intercept of 2. 1, 2. So it's going to cross the x-axis right there. Now, what makes this so easy is, you know, anytime you plug a 0 in for a letter, when you multiply by 0 or whatever, it just goes away. So most of the time I won't even do this step. I'll just say, well, I'm taking the y out if I'm putting a 0 in for it. 2x equals 4. So you know x has to be 2, right? So you'll be able to cut down on those steps. Okay? The thought question again, and this will be common sense here also, Chase. If I'm a y on the y-axis, if I'm finding the y-intercept, how many did I move over? None. So I would plug a 0 in for the x to find the y-intercept. Okay, so I'm plugging a 0 in for the x. That gets me 2 times 0 minus y equals 4, which means negative y equals 4. Yes?
I just think Grace Taylor to the office for a second.
Sure.
Thank you.
Which now all I would do to solve, my y is being multiplied by negative 1, so I would divide by negative 1. So I would have negative 1, 2, 3, 4. And that would be my line to connect. I haven't been very lucky at connecting my points today. We're going to give it a whirl there and see if I can get it. I got closer on that one. I can make those points a little bit bigger. Oh, where's my marker? There it is. Make the points bigger to hit the line. There we go. All right, so the note you probably need to make. The note you probably need to make when you're finding the x-intercept, you're going to substitute a 0 in for the y. When you're finding the y-intercept, you're going to substitute a 0 in for the x. Everybody all right? Pretty simple, pretty easy. All right, you're fixing to try one of those real quick. You bet your boots. There we go. All right, this one says, let me get my graph paper. You're fixing to try this one. This one says 4x minus y is equal to negative 3. I want you to do the same two things that we just did. I want you to find the intercepts, and I want you to graph the line. Okay, find the intercepts and graph the line. One of your intercepts is going to have a fraction in it, but it's okay. It's easy to work with fraction. It's not like something screwy that you can't handle. Find the intercepts and graph the line. Go.
So the y makes a 0?
You got to make them both a 0. when you find the x one, you'll put a 0 in for the y. When you find the y one, you'll put a 0 in for the x. Equals negative 3. Yeah. And then you'll say your other problem will be 4 times 0 minus y equals negative 3. So you always have two problems to do.
It's going to be negative y equals negative.
Yes.
So y equals 3. That's right.
Good job.
I did it in my head.
That's great. I'm glad it changed.
I've been wrong for a week. Yeah, it's over there.
Yeah, we had a test. Did you take it?
Hey, did I take the test?
No.
Yes, so now you divide both of them by negative 1.
I was only here for like 5 minutes.
Alright, which one, Caitlin, do you want to solve for first? X or Y? Okay, so if you're solving for X, that means you put a 0 in the Y. Caitlin, is that right? Okay, so 0 in the Y, that just goes away. So Caitlin would have 4x equals negative 3. Then she would divide by 4. And her x would equal negative 3/4. Okay?
To make it into a fraction or something?
Either one. You can write it whichever way you prefer. Now if I solve for y, she would put a 0 in for the x, so you would have 4 times 0, which is nothing. So you just have negative y equals negative 3. Divide by negative 1, and y would be equal to 3. Now, we had and I don't know if your exit question will be the same or not, but we had an exit question in first period where they were told to find the intercepts, and they got answers like that, but this is how they submitted it. They put negative 3/4 3 as an ordered pair. That's not right. Okay, the ordered pair would be negative 3/4 0, right? And then 0 3, right? So if you want to put it as an ordered pair, you put it that way. I just put my answer if they ask for intercepts. I normally just leave it like that. But either any of it's good. Let's go ahead and graph it. I asked you to graph it. Negative 3/4 is left, almost 1, in between a 1 and a half, and then 0 3 be there. That's a fairly steep line, isn't it? There you go.
It goes dead on.
I did good that time. All right, now we've always got special lines. Y'all, there's special situations and everything. But you got what you need on that one?
No. What is that on? The top one?
0 3.
You don't put arrows?
You're supposed to, yes, thank you. I'm being a slacker today. There we go. If not, it's just a segment, it wouldn't. We good? Alright. Well, let me go throw my graph paper here. This one, we've got y equals 3. The directions just tell us to graph. Alright. We suddenly only got one variable. Y equals 3. Now that looks similar to the problems that we just worked. I think the last problem we ended up solving for y and getting 3, didn't we? Okay, so y equals 3. I'm at the origin. I'm going to go up to 3 and put a dot. Now what's my x? What value of x corresponds to a y of 3?
0.
0 does. What else? What?
Negative 3/4.
But we're on a different problem though, but negative, I'll go with that. Negative 3/4 would work. Okay, so x, no matter what value, along what Chase just said, no matter what value for x, y is going to be negative 3, or y is going to be 3, which means we're looking at a horizontal line through 3.
These are the special ones, right?
Yep. So here's the note I'm going to make on these. Whenever we only have one variable, it's either going to be a horizontal or a vertical line. So when I have no x, it looks like Knox, it's always going to be horizontal. When you have only a y, no x, your line's just going to be horizontal. What's the slope of a horizontal line?
0.
0. Very good. Kaylee, 0 is the slope of a horizontal line. All right. Now I want to keep this on the same graph paper. You can do it on the same graph if you want, or you can get a different one. I've got x plus 2 equals 0. All right, so again, I've only got one variable, but this time it's an x. So if no x got me a horizontal line, what do you think no y is going to get me?
Vertical.
Vertical, very good. Where's this vertical line going to go through? What do I need to do to this thing?
Subtract 2.
Good. I need to go ahead and solve it. Very good, Zane and Kaylee. So it's going to give me x is negative 2. So it's going to be negative 1, negative 2. It'll be a vertical line through negative 2. Okay? So you might want to make you those notes over there about when it's horizontal and when it's vertical.
So that far over is 2.
Yeah, I counted on the red ones.
Okay.
Okay, got it? All right. Still, this one's a little bit weird, but it's... Oh, let me go back. Let me say one more thing. The horizontal line... Y'all pay attention, fellas. The horizontal line had a slope of 0. Y'all answered that for me a second ago. What's the slope of a vertical line?
Doesn't have one.
Doesn't have one? Very good, Zane. What's another way to say that same thing? Starts with a U. Undefined. Very good. So you can write no slope, or you can write undefined if it's a vertical line, any of that. All right. Here we've got 3x minus y equals 0. Okay? It's going to be another one that's a little bit different. 3x minus y equals 0. The directions just say to graph. Okay, so I would ask you, based on your a long time ago, 3 or 4 years ago, Algebra 1 knowledge, what form is that line written in? Standard, slope, intercept, or point slope?
Point slope.
Nope. Standard. Very good. It's ax plus by equals c. So that's standard form. I told you a little bit ago, my favorite way to graph when it's in standard form is to find the intercepts. That's what we started off with a few problems ago. So I'm going to go ahead on this and do that. Look at the intercepts, but you're going to see I run into a problem. If I find the x-intercept, if I plug a 0 in for y, I've just got 3x equals 0, right? So if 3x equals 0, that means x equals 0, right? Everybody okay? So I would have a point there. Okay, what if I plug a 0 in for the x? I got negative y equals 0, which also means y equals 0. So my point's on the same spot. Can I draw a line through one point? I mean, I could, but it probably wouldn't be correct, right? How many points do I have to make a correct line? At least 2. Very good. Here, I mean, how would I know where to draw it, right? So I've got to get another point. Probably when you were in Algebra 1, your teacher probably made you put 3. Anybody's teacher ever make you do 3 points? What would be the purpose in that?
More accurate.
Okay. If I get a second point and it's right there, I can connect them and say, bam, I got it. But Hayden, if I had a point right here and then I got a third one over here, I would know I screwed up somewhere. So it's just a way to check yourself on that. But anyway, we got to get at least one more point. What can I do to get one more point in this thing? It's the very first problem we started the day with on that input-output table. Pick any x you want. Good, Caleb. So we're going to pick any x we want, plug it in, solve, and get another point. Okay, now my advice to you in Algebra 2 was always, whatever you pick, you got a graph, so pick something reasonable. If you tell me 98, I'm going to say no. I'm not going to count 98 times and start graphing that.
How about 97?
Funny. All right, 2 they said over there. So I'm going to plug a 2 in for the x. 1 would have been good as well. The only thing I couldn't use was 0 because I already got it. Right? So I'm going to plug a 2 in for the x. 3 times 2 is 6 minus y equals 0. Subtract my 6. Negative y is negative 6. So y would be 6. So I've got the point 2, 6 to graph. Okay, to make that work here, I'm going to count on every line this time. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And my line will go through those points. If I can back off of it to see it a little bit and try to hit a couple. Does that look good? They're not too shabby. Wasn't as good as the last one, but. Okay. Alright, do you know why my x and y intercepts were both 0 on that? Can you look at the equation and figure that out?
Anything
Because
times
it
0.
crosses right.
Anything that equals 0.
Good. Good, Baylor. Baylor nailed it. Zane was just about there. It's equal to 0. So anytime it's equal to 0, that's the dilemma that you're going to have. Both of your intercepts are going to be here, so you're going to have to plug another point in. Okay? Plug another x or a y in. All right. Got what we need on that? All right, midpoint goes along pretty good with linear stuff. The midpoint of a segment. You're going to take your x's and add them and then half them. You're going to take your y's and add them and then half them. Midpoint's one of those formulas I don't ever worry about memorizing because I think it's pretty common sense. If you're given some points and asked to find what's in the middle of them, halfway. Add them and take half of it. So not a very difficult situation on this. If I gave you the ordered pair here, we got segment PQ. P is at negative 5, 8, and Q is at 2, 4. And I want to know what's the midpoint of that segment. I'm just going to plug them in there. Doesn't matter which one's X1, Y1 as long as I always try to make it stay consistent. If I make this one be 1, then the Y needs to be 1 also. You know, don't mix them up. Don't have X1 with Y2 kind of thing. So I'm going to say add my X's would be negative 5 plus 2 and half it. Add my Y's, 8 plus 4 and half it. And you just got some basic math on this one. You're going to get a little bit of a fraction here because that's negative 3 divided by 2. So negative 1.5 and then 6. That's your midpoint. That's the kind of stuff I like doing. It's not very hard, easy. It's actually useful. Alright. I got some fill in the blank questions that some of them stumped first period. We're going to show how much smarter y'all are now. Everybody ready? I'm going to just read them to you. No. I'm going to just read them to you, and then I'll give everybody a second to think, and then I'll call on you. Probably everybody will get picked on, so just be ready. All right, it says the point with coordinates 0, 0 is called the blank. Just think about it a second. Let me read it. The point with coordinates 0, 0 is called the blank. What do you think, Michael?
Are we not getting the word back?
No, I just found you.
The point with coordinates 0, 0. Chase. Origin is exactly right.
Oh, man.
See?
We just need a word bank. And I
Oh
can figure
no,
that out.
oh no. Word banks are for babies. Y'all got this stuff.
Well, I'm a baby.
No, you're not. No, you're not. All right. This one says. This one's a little bit tougher than that one, so I'm worried now. This one says for any value x, the point XO lies on the blank axis. Okay, so first off, you got a 50-50 chance because there's your x-axis and there's your y-axis. That's all you're dealing with. The point x0 would be on which one of these?
X.
Keston is correct. It would be on the x-axis. Everybody see that? Good job. All right. Next it says to find the x-intercept of a line, we let blank equal 0. To find the x-intercept of a line, we let blank equal 0. What do you think, Rachel? Come on, think about it. To find the x-intercept of a line right here, what will equal 0? Y or x?
Why?
Y, Caleb is correct. Phone a friend next time and call Caleb. He was acting like we wrote.
50-50 shot.
You made a note on that. We wrote it down. I'm not here.
Where you at?
That's what I was about to say.
Dang, that's not good.
DED did.
All right, the equation blank equals 4 is a horizontal line. Okay, so the equation blank equals 4 is a horizontal line. So would it be y equals 4 or x equals 4? What do we think on that, Zane? Y, very good. A y equals is a horizontal line. Remember we wrote no x is horizontal, right?
Are we gonna have these kind of questions?
We might. You're getting them. You're getting them. To graph a straight line, you need a minimum of blank points. What do you think, Hayden? Hold that thought. Don't say it.
Layton Pickens, please come to the high school office.
Hayden's got to graph a straight line. He needs a minimum of how many points? 2 is correct. Way to be confident there, Hayden. Good job. Some teachers will recommend 3 to make sure you didn't screw up, but technically 2 points make a line. Segment.
Well, I don't screw up very often, and they make
So
mistakes
this
all the time.
He says,
All right, I got one more of these. One more of these. The point blank 4 is on the graph of 2x minus 3y equals 0. So you actually have to do some computation on this one. You got a y of 4. You got to figure out what x goes with that. So on your scratch your note paper right there if you need to. Some of y'all can do it just by looking at it. Zane just got it, but go ahead and plug a 4 in for the y and solve for x. Give everybody a second, Caleb, then you can answer.
Don't give them a second, you might forget.
I'll have to try it now and then figure it out.
Everybody ready?
12 minus 0.
This one. This mini. 25 is it this one?
All right, Caleb, what you got?
This mini?
This many. Caleb is right at 6. It would set up as 2x minus 3 times 4. 3 times 4 is 12, so he's got 2x minus 12. And like Zane got that pretty quick and Caleb did too, you can mentally do that. Okay, the 12's being subtracted, so you're moving it over. X is being multiplied by 2, so you're dividing by 2. So that would be a 6 there. Nice job. All right. There will be an exit question appearing in your classroom in just a minute, so go ahead and get your classroom open back up, and I'll get the exit question